3 minutes. This is it. The beginning. Ground zero.
I think this is about where we came in.
Would you like to say a few words to mark the occasion? I'm sorry?
I still can't think of anything.
Take a little walk to the edge of town and go across the track where the viaduct looms like a bird of doom as it ships and cracks, where secrets lie in the border fires and the humming wires. Yeah, man, you know you're never coming back. Across the square, across the bridge, past the mills, past the stacks. On a gathering storm comes a tall, handsome man in a dusty black coat with a red right hand.
Welcome to the Desert Island Institute of Film. I'm Dr. Paul.
I'm Diet Dr. Paul.
And we're happy that you are here. This week, we are, well, first of all, if you're first time to this cast, we're all about movies, talking about father-son movie, the way you talk about movies with your family. Probably not with nearly as much erudite insight.
A little less punching.
I think so, yes. And we have come to blows before. But our ultimate goal is obviously have fun because we enjoy being together. He's my best friend here.
Friendship is the best thing ever, except for best friendship, which is a little better.
The goal, though, is to turn you on to some new films.
Oh, you're going the right way for a smack bottom, and I don't care who knows it.
Or maybe old films that you've never seen, or make you think about films in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
So please tell them what our topic is going to be this week. I can't wait to hear.
Ooh, listen up, boys and girls. Today's episode is dun-da-da-da, the worst villain, or I guess that's not the right, it would be the best villains, or however you want to frame that, depending on whatever you identify with a villain, or if you're scared of villains, but it's either the worst or best. How about this? Most evil villains of all time.
I like that.
In film history. Dun-da-da-da.
Uh-huh. Hard? Difficult to do?
Fairly difficult because there's a lot of iconic ones. And some that were very difficult for me to sort of push to side when it all came to the end. But for me, it came down to what do I want from a villain? And I think an adverse reaction is always good. The villains that piss you off, that say, I don't like this person, the ones that actively make you angry long after the viewing, or for whatever reasons, maybe it was a specific character that the writer did a good job of making someone super likable, a very dislikable person in the end. So I think that those really helped trump. And also, I didn't put as much stock into number of films. Because I think you could look at some people and be like, oh, Michael Myers, like, oh yeah, he's scary, but he's had a long time to be evil. So where are you getting your bang for your buck at too?
You know what I look for in villains? Ask me what. Once in a while, even a blind squirrel gets a nut.
I didn't get a harumph out of that guy.
Just the governor, harumph. Harumph!
Ask me what I look for in a villain.
What do you look for in a villain?
I am so glad you asked. I want them to die.
Whatever, I do what I want.
I really do, and that's kind of how I came to this. First of all, I steered away from horror for the most part because people like Michael Myers and Freddy and all that kind of stuff. But I looked at villains that I had no sympathy for. And so I didn't put like Darth Vader because, there's a part of me that really empathizes and feel bad for him.
In the end, he's almost more of an anti-hero. I framed him differently in a completely different way.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was really, my reaction is I want this person to die as soon as they can, not for real, but that's sort of what I was looking for is true evil, unsympathetic characters.
Yeah, and I don't want again. I want to emphasize. I don't want someone who, in the end, becomes a good guy because that's not what this is about. And that they were just, they had a poor childhood if that's what happened.
Right. Well, a lot of times that's the whole archetype. It's the character arc. They start. I once was blind and now I see, kind of stuff. Well, all right. Let me see. Check my notes here. See if I.
Did you have any honorable mentions?
Well, I did. Obviously, I Hannibal Lecter was an honorable mention for me.
He's another one that I filed under Darth Vader-ish because if you watch his whole sort of arc of his character, there's a time where he's kind of a good guy at times in there. So
yeah,
a little blurry.
He's a great, fantastic, one of the best roles ever. But I didn't put Darth Vader in, as I already said. No Angel Eyes from Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, the Lee Van Cleef role, and then the Brad Wesley that was played by Ben Gazzara in Roadhouse, kind of stuff.
Oh, he's a good one.
Yeah.
For me, honorable mention, Ivan Drago, super iconic.
I will break you.
This one was a tough one for me too. Mr. Anderson from The Matrix, very, very iconic. And then two more. Daniel Plainview from There Will Be Blood, because he sort of toes the line for me at times. And then another one, and this is tough because Thanos from the Avengers saga. If it was more true to the comic books, he would absolutely be on this list, but so he's not. So,
all right. We hope we have not offended any of the villains that we have just excluded from our.
There
list.
maybe have to be a part 2. You never know.
That might be. So anyway, as always, we're interested in your concepts and discussion about what we say. Why don't you start us off? We don't know what each other's going to say. We do what's called the 7. We count up the top 7, and so. Hit it.
All right. So I may have towed the line and gone into some television because I had to. Because when I think of villains, I don't know why this is the one that I always think of first. And it is from Fargo Season 1, Billy Bob Thornton's Lorne Malvo. There is just something about the wickedness of that man and sort of his unsympathetic nature. The scene that really gave me a clue into his depravity is the scene where Oliver Platt sends his crony over, or his crony goes to him to sort of make sure that he's on the up and up and kind of strong arm him into, toeing the line. And he basically just goes and sits down and has a bowel movement with the door open while this guy's like threatening him. And he's just kind of like, but he's just, there's nothing redeeming about the man. And
don't you think you could almost have every single villain from every season of Fargo? If you haven't watched Fargo, and I'm glad that TV, because I have TV on my list as well. If you have not watched any of the series, the TV series of Fargo, they're amazing. And I think this last season with John Hamm was the best season ever.
I haven't seen it yet.
Put the seatbelt on.
I've seen them all. It's my favorite.
I can't stop thinking about it.
I'm telling you, the first season of Fargo, the TV show, is some of the best TV I've ever seen. And that was a big year for TV when it came out, and I fought hard for it. I thought I should have won Best Show that year. So if it's better than that, then that says quite a bit.
I agree with you. And, Billy Bob Thornton disappears into any role that he does. And for a guy, you think about somebody that played, I want some of them French fried taters, Swing Blade, non-assuming kind of character, and then you turn that towards Fargo or some of his the one we just saw recently with the kidnapping of the kid, the special needs kid.
Baytown Outlaws.
Yeah, I mean he's like Joe Pesci. You don't think of Joe Pesci as being a scary guy. Well, Joe Pesci would have been. I wish I would have thought of Joe Pesci because
that's actually really good.
Yeah,
he's
really terrifying. Yeah. This little that's good acting and clearly, yeah. I wholeheartedly, a lot of stuff you come up with. Oh my goodness.
His speech about why we see the color green, and he sort of says that to Tom Hanks' son. You'll understand our situation and sort of our give and take once you know the answer to that question. I thought that's some of the best writing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Big fan.
Yep. Good choice. My number 7 is Dr. Smith, okay, played by Jonathan Harris from Lost in Space, 1965 to I think 68.
He does look evil.
This is how I learned to hate as a child. I think we're born innocent and really we're virgin snow kind of stuff. This is an evil, wicked man who was just abusive to poor Will Robinson and the robot. And even as a child, I remembered, wow, this is not the way people are supposed to act. He's a coward. It's interesting if you watch the very first pilot episode, he had some mojo to him, but I don't know what it was. He sort of turned the corner and became more of a comedic villain. But I just wanted every episode. It's like, I'm gonna go watch Lost in Space. Maybe this is the episode where Dr. Smith dies.
He turns into the Wicked Witch of the West.
Yeah, it's just he. And I listened to an interview that he did that said that he felt like that the character would. Some of the best roles are villains, and that he believed that he would eventually be killed off or written off the show. And so he made an attempt to make his character such a standout that they wouldn't. And that's actually the same thing with Will Robinson. When at first you look at things like, what's the movie with Michael J. Fox, that Family Ties? That was originally all spotlighting the family, but he became the central character. He wasn't written as the central character. In Lost in Space, Will Robinson sort of became, and in his relationship with Dr. Smith and the robot, they became the overriding characters, and the adults were, I'm sorry, but it's kind of window dressing kind of stuff. And so I think that Jonathan Harrison, he did that intentionally, and they had to keep him around, but my goodness, he's despicable.
He does have a very much a piece of candy, go for a ride vibe. Get off my lawn. Very it's in the eyebrows and the face. He just looks mean.
Yeah. I assume you're going to put a clip in there from The Simpsons.
Maybe. We'll see if I find a good one.
All right.
Is that
That's it. That's
it?
number 7.
Should probably put that over here so I don't, All right. Number that was your number 7. Okay, number 6. All right. Now this is one that I didn't see on any list, so I was proud of that. And I think part of the reason why she is even up here is because of how likable she is at the beginning. And that is Amy Dunn from 2014's Gone Girl, which is my boy David Fincher. She goes from being sort of like the arc of this film, and they show the love at the beginning, and she's really hot, and she's so nice, and she does everything that the new girlfriend you would want her to do. And she goes from that to being so vile in parts of this, and she's done it all being an arm's length away. And I found the times where she finally kind of gets a little comeuppance at times in the movie, just being like, yeah, get her, yeah. And she's just this frail woman. There's a time in the movie where she hits herself with something, and even then I'm like, oh yeah, hit her again. Like, oh. But that
doesn't look real. One more time.
for the people in the back row. But it's David Fincher, so there was quite a few that I thought about. I thought about Tyler Durden at one point, but again, it's where does he fall in there? But she goes from being such a lovable, likable, interesting character to being just a scary woman at one point.
Which is why that movie works, is because of that arc, because it's what makes it so interesting, that you're all the way with her, and then where did I see that come from? So, yeah.
Great movie, by the way.
Yeah, good. That's a good choice if you haven't seen. You got this thing for Fincher.
And I know we're already planning on going to be a big episode, the best director of all time, Film Fight Club, and I've already started my list. He's not going to be the one, just so you know.
Okay. Well, it's interesting. That's more of a modern film. Do you have anything, Lost in Space was 1965. Do you have anything that's older than 2000?
I've got some from a couple from the 70s.
All right, good. That's one of the differences between us I'm considerably older than he is, that I do drink. I guess movies that had more of Lost in Space, you probably have casually seen TV
I know
episode
what you are. I understand.
it's just not something that, had you grown up, it could have, of course it could have, but
I'm not surprised that it's on your list at all.
yeah. Yeah. And I didn't want to put it on there because I think sometimes whatever the first one it's on, it's like, I don't even gonna watch this. That's not what I thought it was going to be. And so, but I've decided I'm going to be true to myself. He's not the worst,
Do it.
Yeah. All right.
Do it.
My number 6, Richie Madonna.
Oh, from Alfred Justice.
Anybody seen Richie? Yes. William Forsythe. This, first of all, this is one of Steven Seagal's best films. And it's really, I think he's the second best villain in Steven Seagal, with Chris Christopherson being the first in Fire Down Below. But he's much more sympathetic and endearing kind of stuff.
He's just kind of a rich guy.
Yeah. Richie Madonna is just the, I suspect that when he gets killed, his mother cheered. He is just, when he comes on the screen, even watching the trailer again, he comes on the screen, you just feel this, he's the true definition of sociopath. Sociopaths have no compulsion. It's like their world ends where their skin ends.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't care what happens to you at all. I will take what I want because it's me, whatever. If I kill somebody, it's no big deal at all. No conscience whatsoever. And it's really easy in roles like that to become a cartoon or a caricature kind of stuff. But it's not. He is embedded in that role.
You fear him.
Yes.
You're scared he's a loose cannon.
And you're so glad, when he gets it. But it is really, if you haven't, what year was it? 1991, but no sympathetic qualities at all. But can't take your eyes off him in the,
Absolutely. I agree with everything you said. What's funny though is he wasn't on my list, but he for Out for Justice, but he was almost on my list for another movie, and that was his character in From Hell. Because that movie is the first movie where you take some despicable villains that are on some other people's top movie villains list, and you make them the hero. He's so gnarly in that movie that he made the villains the heroes, some of the gnarliest villains the heroes, by being even worse than them.
I do not think that William Forsythe gets the credit that he deserves as an actor. I mean, goes back to Once Upon a Time in America. He just what he does with his eye kind of thing, and just he's an amazing actor. And William,
good character actor, great character actor.
You demand, and I hope you don't ever stop working. I saw him in Cleveland for Cinema Wasteland, and I think I got the autographed picture of him, and I got up there and I'm like, yeah, it's like, which you always feel like a geek when you go to a convention, because how many times people seen these folks in the airport or whatever, they've heard everything. Oh, I love your work kind of stuff. It's like, I don't want to embarrass myself.
It's just wow.
But he is breathtaking as an actor. Just amazing.
Whenever I see him, I immediately think of Out for Justice. That's what I think of him as. Kind of looking a little kind of greasy. A little sweaty.
Good guy. All right.
All right. That was your number 6.
6.
Number 5. All right. So this is the only one in here that I would consider from horror films, and I just couldn't leave it out. I kept skipping over it and coming back, and my eyes kept being drawn to it. And maybe it's my affinity for it. Maybe it's because it feels bad for being left off of my best horror franchise list, and that is the Xenomorph from the Alien franchise. And part of it is because of just sort of, it's unforgiving in its own ways. And it's one of the things where anytime you're watching an Alien or a Predator movie or anything, once that face hugger is on you, that's it. It's a wrap for you. You're donezo. And you're not even dead yet. You got a little little thing in your little tickle in the tummy, but you're dead. You're dead already, and everyone on that ship's dead already. They're just prime killing machines.
The best creature design of all time.
H.R. Geiger, baby. Anything that makes Brad Dourif sweat in a horror movie, that's one bad mofo. Shut your mouth.
It makes you want to never watch a 1950s or 1960s monster movie.
I'll tell you what that movie weirdly reminds me of. L.A. Looks gel. Hair gel.
Yeah. Well, and the thing where it's like the thing that shoots out of its mouth, it's like, who would have thought of that?
I got a wall decoration that's what it is it looks like an alien's head punching through the wall that I got to put up.
Yeah. If I would have allowed myself to include horror on my list, that definitely would have been one that was in there.
I felt he would have represented the horror for me because it was really tough to jump over some of the horror greats. But this is just so just unassumingly just like there's no love lost in this thing. It's all carnage.
The only weakness that I have with that, he doesn't speak, and I'd like to hear him talk.
Hello.
I'd like him to use like E.T.'s voice.
E.T. I want him to be more like from Spaceballs.
Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello, my ragtime gal. Send me a kiss, my wine. Baby, my heart's on fire.
That's what I want to see him as, yeah. The WB Frog.
Okay, yeah. I'm surprised that I thought that you would get that reference from Spaceballs and not from the cartoon. Man, you're
It's from both of them.
yeah, you're drinking deep. All right, my number 5 is the most unusual on my list because it's not one person.
Okay.
It's 3 people. And it is from a film that I'm going to guarantee you've never seen. And you are lesser of a person for it. It is Bad Day at Black Rock. You ever heard of it?
Never heard of it.
The 3 characters, it was 1955, it was in color. Robert Ryan, Ernest Borgnine, and Lee Marvin. Ernest Borgnine we know from like McHale's Navy kind of stuff. It's not a comedy role at all. Spencer Tracy, okay, shows up, gets off a train in this little isolated town, and everybody is just really kind of acts strange. And they don't know, what is this guy doing here? What does he want? And he's asking questions around town, and they can tell that they're hiding something in this town. And he has one arm. And by one arm, it's like this arm, and it was during the war, doesn't work kind of stuff. And spoiler alert, or, he's essentially investigating a murder.
Okay.
And is there, and you don't really know why he's doing it, why he cares about that. And these 3 folks, these 3 villains, make his life hellish. But he never gets angry. He just has this, it's the old say, it's kind of Zen. Marriage counseling, which I've done, it's like a tennis match. You can't fight with somebody that won't fight back. It's like tennis, you hit the ball. If you don't swing it back, the game's over. And that's what he does throughout this. They'll do and say all kinds of stuff. He just doesn't respond till he winds up getting a fight and kicks butt with one arm kind of stuff. I mean, it really is. But these three, one by one, you can't wait. And part of it is because they're taking such advantage of this really nice old man, and he's doesn't have an arm, so it is a brilliant movie.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, I don't know how many times I've watched it.
I know who Ernest Borgnine and Lee Marvin are, but that's about it.
Robert Ryan is, once you see him, he's a classic, Hollywood actor. It is. It's a good time. It's a really good.
Except
time.
from what year? What year?
1955. But color is great, cinematography kind of stuff. I didn't write down who the director was, but I'm assuming it's been on American Movie Classics kind of stuff. So yeah, it's old, and it's older than most of the people watching this. But give it a chance.
It's older than he is.
It is.
He had to think. I didn't.
Barely. Yeah. Please take a dip in that pool.
Take a dip in that pool.
You will thank me later.
I was not expecting that one. All right. Number 4. Now, if you'd asked me before we did this list, I thought this one would be higher on here. And so sorry about it. And actually, I think the reason why it's not higher on this list is because eventually I thought of another character that's similar. Okay, but anyway, let's go to this fella. All right, number 4 is going to be Hans Landa from Inglourious Bastards. Now, he's just not a nice guy, but I kept going. He would have been higher up the list, but then I thought about Schindler's List, Amon Goeth from that. And they kind of remind me a little bit of each other, even though their delivery is different. So he got docked a couple points for that. That being said, he's just so gnarly in that movie. That is the reason why Christoph Waltz has a career that just kind of blew up out of nowhere. There's no redeeming qualities of this guy. You want him to suffer. And though suffer he does, it still leaves you kind of pissed off at the end. And it's just easy to hate Nazis. But I think that even if he was like, played that character as a cashier from Walmart, you'd probably hate him too.
You have this, I don't know how many times you've talked about Inglourious Bastards on our show, which new episode every Thursday. Like us, subscribe, that kind of thing.
Ding, ding, ding.
Because you clearly, that movie resonated with you much more than it did for me. And I love all of Tarantino's movies. It is.
Mm-hmm.
It's down lower on my pantheon. And so this clearly, it never surprises me when you bring it up. As a character, you're exactly right.
There's a lot of Tarantino movies in my top 10.
Yeah.
And that one, I don't know if that one would be in there, but it'd be close.
Yeah.
It's a good movie. I like that movie.
And you would have him rated higher than the character in Django Unchained.
Calvin Candy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Candy's good. I don't hate him as much.
What about not Lawrence Fishburne? Who was the?
Samuel.
I know people
Jackson.
do that all the time. I do that. I'm so sorry.
No, but Samuel Jackson, you're talking about from the same movie?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Snowball.
I saw a funny story about how Tarantino was offering him a role in Django, and he thought up until he actually had his meeting with Tarantino that he was going to be going for the role of Django and not for the other character. So it was a big shock.
The house Negro.
Yeah. He's not likable.
And maybe that's why some of the anger he came across in the whole role, because it was simmering kind of stuff.
It was a good play though.
Yeah. Well, good choice. Good choice. Au revoir, Shoshana. My number 4 is Silva from Skyfall.
Okay, I like him.
Javier
Bardem.
Yeah, 2012. I had to have, when you think of villains, it's kind of the centerpiece of James Bond films, and I had to have one. And it's actually my favorite Bond villain is actually Dr. Evil from Austin Powers, which is sort of modeled after Blofeld. But he's way too likable, and he carries this. I think he's more sympathetic. He's a better character than Austin Powers is.
Oh, certainly in Goldfinger or Goldmember.
Yeah, I just, that's why you watch it is first for him and then fat bastard kind of stuff. But I digest.
Squid pro row, Mr. Powers.
The characters of Silva first of all, it is one of the best Bonds in modern day Bonds, in my opinion. While he does have some sympathetic qualities to his story, he is clearly will do anything to carry out his plan, even if it means self-destruction. And of course, the writer and the director gladly accommodate in that. But he is, it really is one of these characters, these villains that he doesn't overplay the role. It's not a big, I'm acting kind of stuff.
Ah!
Yeah. So, but it's a great film. Oh, it's a great film. Great. The title song. I think I've talked about before, and that's.
Which one did you say that?
Skyfall.
Skyfall, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. I was just checking something. I wasn't.
That's all I got to say about that.
That's all you got to say.
Do you have anything erudite to say about
No,
that?
I love the scene where he pulls the face piece out and you see that
it collapses.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Man, that's one of my favorite. And that's actually the last Bond movie that I watched.
It makes me want to, every time I even think about it or I see, we've talked about before, there's a scene when James Bond is on a ferry that is going and it's got the Asian dragons and the color. I remember in the theater thinking like, wow, it was just beautiful cinematography.
You talked about that movie before and I put a scene of it in there. I have to find that again.
Yeah. I think it was the one where he's on the train, jumps and he does the thing with his
gets up like it's nothing.
Yeah, kind of. No, it makes every time I think about it, makes me want to go back and watch it.
I need to see the ones after that.
They're all good.
I know they're good. I know Rami Malek's a villain in one. I'm a big fan of him.
And he's really, really a good villain.
Yeah, he's a good actor. I'm a big fan.
Yeah. And then the one with the chair.
Oh, I got that.
See, I shift my seat just thinking about it. Oh, and Bond is like,
that scene.
Can I have some more, please?
That scene right there. But that's a good number 4 because that's a good segue to my number 3, which will be another Javier Bardem character, and that is Anton Chigurh from No Country for Old Men. I mean, the man.
I thought about it.
Walks around with a tank of air and a what is it like? It's like device for killing livestock.
Mm-hmm.
And he just the scene where he just pulls a guy over, and then just walks up to him. And he's just like, and he just like the guy just kind of like stands there as he's just like, hold on, and just does it. What in the absolute heck? What's going on? And then the scene where he lets the cop arrest him, take him to the police station, sit him down in the chair, but he's so he doesn't react that he disarms the police whenever they do catch up to him, and he just kind of does what he wants, throws the handcuffs around the police officer's neck, and then just kills him. And you see his feet kicking away. But
he's another psychopath.
There's just when Woody Harrelson explained who he is, and now you had to have to kill him for him to stop.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's hard to have sympathy for characters like that, like my earlier sociopath and your sociopath. I think about Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer, which I've mentioned before. Same thing, sociopath, but you feel really bad for him. I don't think he dies, but it's just really like, man, get your act together, because yeah. But no, I totally, absolutely agree with you on that. Is No Country for Old Men a film that people of your generation embrace?
I think so. That's the one that they got Josh Brolin like back on the A-list map, and they said that he made like absolutely nothing for that movie.
Well, it didn't last long because he wound up in the Avengers movies.
Yeah, but
his career went.
I'm telling you, I think he said he made $8,000.
That was a joke.
I think he said he made like $8,000 for that role.
Wow.
And that's a great movie. I love that movie.
It is.
It's one of my favorites.
Oh, man. Okay. My number 3, Marquis de Gramont. Bill Skarsgård.
Okay.
John Wick 4.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
No?
No, I'm there.
Yes,
I'm
okay.
There. I'm there. I'm surprised. He's good. I like him.
You didn't think he was a...
No, I'm thinking as a villain. He's a great villain. I wouldn't have put him in that stratosphere for me personally.
Oh, he is...
But I've only seen it one time, though, too.
Boy, and I've seen it like 3 times, I believe.
Once.
Yeah. I think he's the best John Wick villain. And he has this smart, smarmy kind of attitude with him that you, by the time it gets to the end of the movie, you just want him dead.
Mm-hmm.
But the story, the way it unfolds, there's some twists in it that you think, well, John Wick is not going to win this. John Wick is going to be the one that goes down, which makes your hatred of the Marquis even more, because it's like, then it's not fair. Doggone it, you are a villain. You deserve to die. And I mean, I remember watching that movie thing. I just don't know how they're going to resolve some of those issues. And there's a lot of bad guys that've been in John Wick, but he really did. He's a brilliant actor, kind of thing. But I thought it was breathtaking.
It's funny you say that, because I saw a movie the other day with him in it called Villain, where he plays a very likable, nice guy.
Who's also a villain?
No, he's the good. He is a bad guy, but he's a good guy in the movie.
Oh, well, he was recently arrested in Sweden.
No, for what?
Drugs, marijuana.
Yeah, he's an actor.
He has like a fine, pleaded guilty, a fine, like $3,000 fine kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It was clickbait, and I think, oh my goodness, what'd he do? And I looked at it. Not that marijuana, well, I don't want to get there.
Not on this channel, my boy. That was your number 3.
That was number 3.
All right, my number 2, and this one was difficult to not put at number 1. This is one of the few where I want a few minutes alone in the room with them, and that would be Nurse Ratched from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Excuse me for that. That bitch I do not like her. She is not a nice person.
That's my number 2.
That's your number
It
2?
is.
Well, even better. Number 2. Oh, there we go.
That's
Don't like her at all.
I shouldn't have said that.
What?
That it was my number 2.
Why? Because it's my number 2.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
So do you have a daily double kind of thing? Okay. Yeah. All right.
Nurse Ratched dance party. But she's just not a sympathetic character in the slightest.
Well, she is a despicable woman. I mean, second only to a couple of congresswomen that I could not name. You know what makes her kind of terrifying is a lot of villains are harsh and, yelling and evil, and she's not. She's so calm and collected. And
Because she knows she has power.
Well, Billy, do you really think that you should do that? Well, Billy, I'm friends with your mother. The issue with Brad Dourif, who's played Billy Bibbit, kind of that just brilliant kind of stuff. And you really hope, during that scene, he cracks and then starts choking her, and her face turns red, and you think any second now, I'm sitting there going pop, 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 pop. The eyeballs are going to pop out, and she doesn't. Later on, she's got the little neck brace on, but you are exactly right. She's terrifying.
Isn't there a series out that's supposed to be about her called Nurse Ratched or something like that?
I think you're exactly right.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I think she won the Oscar for that.
I know.
Yeah, that film won like all of the major awards.
Man, there's going to be a movie list somewhere out there of movies that are just extremely good, that are just difficult to watch. And I think that one would be a candidate for that. There's some tough stuff about it.
It came out in 75.
75.
Do you think that that's a movie that people in your generation are aware of?
I think whether they're aware of it or not, I think it's a good crossover movie for people that want to try some older stuff. Because it's got recognizable actors in it. You got Jack Nicholson in it. But then there's Danny DeVito, Brad Dourif. There's a couple of other guys in there that you've seen before from Back to the Future. My boy's in it. It's a good movie, though. I think sometimes the age of the movie doesn't matter.
Yeah, it was magical. And I know we've talked about sometimes when you're sitting in the theater and you're watching something that you're going to remember forever. That it's just like, it's not like a movie. Okay, I know I'm just at 2 hours of my life kind of thing. It is transcendent. And I remember when seeing that, it's like, oh my goodness. And it was a stage play originally. And it kind of kickstarted Michael Douglas's career because he executive produced that and wound up with the Oscar, him and somebody else kind of stuff. And at that point, only thing that he had done was, I think it was Streets of San Francisco TV drama kind of stuff. That
Do you know who directed it?
Huh?
Who directed?
Milos Forman.
Milos Forman, good director, director.
Which is why in Amadeus, one of the guys that was in that is also in Amadeus.
I'm not going to let you have any of this cream. I'm going to eat it all to myself. I love Amadeus. That's a great movie too.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's my turn again because you did your number 2.
It did.
So my number 1. And I can guarantee you this ain't on your list because it wasn't really on very many lists, and I'm sad that is. And maybe this is, again, and it's the recency bias here a little bit, but that is going to be Mr. Terrence Fletcher from 2014's Whiplash, played by J.K. Simmons. I gave Nurse Ratched her due, so earmuffs, children. He's a bastard. He is not a nice guy. But my boy, he got the last laugh, so what's up now?
You really do. You keep waiting in that movie for redemption. Is he gonna eventually break? And I'm sorry, I was touched, and no.
For me, I didn't really hate him. You don't really hate him until the moment after the car accident.
Right.
You don't really hate him until then. You think that maybe this is sort of like a mentor moment where he's just being hard on him to get the most out of him, but that's really not the case. It's because he's just not a nice guy. He's on a little bit of a power trip.
Yeah.
And there's some very violent scenes in terms of like he's not like smacking the kid around, but there's some violence to it in terms of delivery. And J.K. Simmons, put his
another
head on
actor
it
that
somewhere.
It just is, it disappears in any role. He is
Mm-hmm.
also does not get the credit that I think he deserves.
No, especially for a guy that does some funny stuff and he does some commercials. So maybe they don't take him as seriously as like a Daniel Day-Lewis, but he absolutely can smash a role, and this is a perfect example.
He can play normal, and he can play Humpty Dumpty kind of frumpy character, you know, and he can play dangerous serious, and that's a good. You know, a lot of the films that we have on our list are not the ones that I think you see on the internet list. Because what I do is I go back and look at all and get my, you know, I think about what I'm going to do before I look at the internet, and then I go and sort of finesse it. And I'm tempted sometimes, like, oh man, this is so out of line with everybody, and I didn't see that character on any list. But that's what makes it just a unique perspective for you to tip into that.
I'm not going to come out here and say, again, I don't have the same affinity for the Heath Ledger Joker that a lot of people do, or Darth Vader, or some of these other ones that just are always at the top of the lists. I don't think the Joker is this all-out evil character that people see he is to be, and I don't see the same thing with Darth Vader. I think if you put Nurse Ratched up against either of those two, she comes out on top every time of the week.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, good choice. And I'm proud of you for
thanks, Dad.
walking the less traveled road. My number one
Robert Frost
is the certainly the well-traveled road, but probably not in the number one spot, and that is Hans Gruber from Die Hard. Gruber. Mm-hmm. It is
love me some Alan Rickman.
1988. Here's the way I kind of think about that. A lot of villains are, it's almost like you all you really need is an actor to show up with a sign around his neck that says villain. Mm-hmm. Because they're really there to forward the hero's story, right? That's not the case with Hans Gruber. He is so multi-textured. He goes from being terrifying to humorous kind of stuff. He just can't take your eyes off of him. He is unexpected. It is just as much about his story as it is about the hero story, which is why they match and pair up so well. I think in some ways, I think without him, I don't know that series would have been as successful. The second film, in fact, he wasn't even in it, but you felt his presence because it was all about trying to get revenge for killing him,
Simon
the brother.
Says. That's why I actually think that if I was going to put either of them on there, I think it would have been the second villain. That is because of Hans Gruber, and I think I love Rickman. But I like him better as Sheriff of Nottingham in Robin Hood.
You know what? I went back and forth on that, and it was a little too comedic kind of thing, and I didn't feel he's evil, and I didn't want him to die in that one.
Yeah. I don't have the same aversion to him in the Die Hard movies as you do.
Now listen to this. When Alexander saw the breadth of his domain, he wept, for there were no more worlds for him to conquer.
What are you reading?
Benefits of a classical education.
What are you reading?
That's a line that Rickman uses.
Oh.
It's how he goes back and forth between, on one hand, he's like very poignant kind of thing, and then he looks benefits of a classical education.
Yeah, no, I'm a huge Alan Rickman fan.
It's just the way he turns a phrase. It's just,
and I think I like him a lot as a character. I just don't hate him. And maybe it's because I just like Alan Rickman so much. Could be part of the problem.
When he was fallen, it's like, yeah, okay. What's the last thing going to go through your head? Your mind.
Ass.
Oh, that went quick.
Did it?
It felt like it went quick, and it was. I like your choices. I probably like your choices on this.
Better than yours.
Well, of course, because they're your choices.
He gets it.
Yeah. All right. Well, you have anything witty or otherwise to say before we get to the surprise ending?
I think I'm good.
Well, you want people to subscribe and like us?
I mean, you already said that, but yeah.
I know, but you want to say it again?
Like and subscribe.
Yes. All right. Tell your brothers, your mothers, your sisters, your cousins. And we love your feedback. Got some really very calm, very sweet messages this week about our Wonderfest episode, which I thought was really
see them yet.
Yeah, well, I answered too. I mean, it was really, really good. And then we also got comment about the
Fight Club?
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and I answered that one too. You can answer as well.
No, good.
No, it's all good.
I
No,
only do something around here.
thank you so much. Our goal is always to make this the best or one of the best little podcasts on YouTube. And we will see you at the movies.
I don't want to knob it. Okay.
You must pay the rent. I cannot pay the rent. You must pay the rent. I cannot pay the rent. You must pay the rent. I cannot pay the rent. I'll pay the rent. Curses. My hero.